Hello and welcome back to Inside Devils, the show that keeps you bang up to date with everything going on inside and outside of Old Trafford. Listen, it's been a long wait. We are still waiting for a game. It feels like an absolute eternity. And joining me, of course, to talk about this eternity and to preview the next game and talk about various other things Manchester United is Angelina Kelly, talkSPORT's Angelina Kelly, and talkSPORT's Alex Crook. He's joined us down the line.
AI Crook.
Again, AI Crookie. Yeah. Oh, are you ever going to show up?
At some point, I'll surprise you when you least.
He reckons he's. Isn't it that you're staying at home because you're a good luck charm because United haven't lost or something?
Do you know
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah. Never mind the fella with a haircut trying to get all the publicity. This is my little stance.
We've not even started.
Come on, Crookie. Come on. Guys, remember this show is sponsored by BetMGM. You can download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus gambleaware.org. And please gamble responsibly. Right at the top of the show, we have to talk of a contract renewal. We have to talk Mr. Harry Maguire. He has extended his time at Manchester United. He's signed a new deal. Crookie, let's start with you. What is the extension? And how do you feel about this?
Well, first and foremost, I've got to make an apology, guys, because as you know, my another one of my stances have been not to mention our previous manager by name. That mask slipped on White and Jordan when this news
he
was
forgot. He forgot.
Well, I didn't forget, but I sort of had to reference our former manager because, of course, Maguire was another one that he pretty much ignored at the start of the season. Certainly wasn't first choice, but I think it shows you how far he's come under Michael Carrick.
This was because he was doing like his official...
Yeah, when he's been a real journalist, like a real reporter.
Yeah, he was doing his official report on Harry Maguire, so he had to mention...
millions of people around the country in the UK. You can't just be like, he who shall not be named, he didn't play under. You have to say the real...
Jim and Simon would have had you on toast for that, wouldn't they? Go on.
They would. So the mask had to slip. But I think it tells you how far Maguire has come under Michael Carrick, that they were willing to extend the contract. It's until the end of next season. Initially, there is an extra year's option as well that could be triggered by both parties. And I'm told that Harry Maguire has taken a pay cut to sign this contract. So shows his commitment to Manchester United. And the one word I picked out from the statement was a comment from Jason Wilcox, the sporting director, talking about Maguire's resilience. He's been at the club for 8 years, and you can't question his resilience and his character, because there have been times when he's been booed and jeered, even by his own supporters, but he keeps bouncing back and on form with that pay cut. I think it's the right call.
Yeah. Ange, for you, we spoke about contract renewals, about asking Mrs. Casemiro to help Casemiro stay, and we'll talk about Covey in a little bit, you know. But Harry Maguire is one. Was he always one that you believed should get a contract, or do you think this is a good thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've said this about players like De Ligt, players like Harry Maguire. Do I think that they are going to be the key to Man United, winning a Premier League title one day, for example? Probably not. But do I think that you need a player like Harry Maguire in the interim for now? 100%, because he is resilient. I mean, you think of some of the things, stripped of the captaincy, been absolutely obliterated unfairly on social media. Still, he's just so, mentally robust. And I think that you need that in a squad. I think the fact that he's back in the mix with England, I think he deserves to go to the World Cup, in my opinion. But
Thomas Tuchel's season was like sixth choice, so we've got to hold our breath on that.
Well, you know what? I think depending on John Stones and his injury issues, I think that I personally think he deserves to go. Maybe
Absolutely.
I'm being a bit Man United biased,
I
but I just think... he's never let England down as well. And he has got so many redeeming qualities, and people always like to focus on the things that he can't do. But there are a lot of things that he is very, very capable of doing. And it's not just, being slab-head and, scoring a goal. But I think defensively, he does a lot as well. And you look at the options for Manchester United, they do still need a first-choice centre-back, in my opinion, especially on the left side, because I was reading an article and I was looking into it about Lisandro Martinez. Brilliant player, but isn't reliable. He's not. I think him and Aiden Heaven have played the same amount of league games this season. So I think long term, especially on the left side, we do need reinforcements. That's probably a different conversation. But I think for now, keeping Harry Maguire was of extreme importance. There's a lot of business that's got to happen in the summer, in my opinion. And I think at least knowing we have got Harry Maguire for another season is going to be important.
Yeah, Crookie, he's played every game under Michael Carrick, so that shows the type of trust that Carrick has in him. We'll talk about the manager search or lack of or thereabouts in a little bit. But does that show just how good Harry Maguire is at this current moment? Because we're talking about Manchester United in a positive light for the first time in so long, and the consistency we've been showing since Carragher's got there, and Harry Maguire has been a big part of that. Has he been rightly respected, unfairly treated? How do you see how Harry Maguire is spoken about now, also looking at his whole Man United career versus how he's talking about?
Well, I think it's been a love-hate relationship at times when it comes to Harry Maguire. I think he's probably a byproduct of the fact that he's been there for 8 years at a time when the club haven't been very successful. They've not won Premier League titles. He's won an FA Cup. He's won a League Cup. But this has not been a glorious phase in Manchester United's history. And at times, I've probably been as guilty as anyone of making Maguire one of the scapegoats for that. He was stripped of the captaincy by Erik ten Hag. But I think what we've seen under Michael Carrick, and even last season, actually, I commentated that incredible conclusion to the Lyon game when he got the winner. He is a leader without the armband. There's no question about that. Thomas Tuchel sees him as such because he's finished both the England games he played last month wearing that captain's armband. So I think you have to give him a lot of credit. And I guess if we could go back in time and parachute Maguire into a Sir Alex Ferguson Manchester United team, then we find out really how good he is. But when it comes to defending, when it comes to bringing the ball out from the back, I think he's got those attributes, and I think United have looked around and looked how much it would cost to replace him, particularly as Ange has already alluded to, when there are serious fitness doubts, certainly about Matthijs de Ligt and Martinez as well, and decided actually keeping this guy and renegotiating the wages is going to be much more beneficial than spending big money on the type of player that we need to replace him ahead of a summer when I think other areas of the team are in more need of repair. Yeah,
100%. I think this is a way to tick multiple boxes at once. We have so many positions to fill. So much of our resources need to be spent in central midfield. We want a left back, a left winger, etc., etc. And you don't want to leave yourself short at centre back or have to reinvest. And also, just with Harry Maguire, let's have it right. He's the best defender. Like he's just when he's playing as well as anyone in the league in that position, realistically, this year when he's played. And he's playing as well as I can remember him playing in a Man United shirt. It's almost like a bit of like fine wine. The more he's got older and the more he's had the pressure taken off him with the armband, that was the best move for him. He has redeemed himself. And actually, I go into games calmer when he's there.
Yeah.
When you're thinking, God, set pieces and, in both boxes, he's a threat. It's not just a comical, like some of the things we get people laugh at me, but I'll stick him up front and get his big head on it. No. He's good at defending. He's not getting done on the counter-attack where he's high up the pitch with no help.
Yeah.
He's strong. He's good at box defending. He's a threat in the other end. I just think, actually, this is just on merit. It's not even keep the old guy around so he can help teach the young ones in training. He won't play that. No, he can play. He can still play. So I agree. It's always been the right move for me to give Harry Maguire a new contract. Crookie, we're also hearing that Kobbie Mainoo is close to signing a new deal. What do you know about that? And do you think it's important that we do time down?
Yeah, I spoke to sources close to Kobbie on Tuesday morning because obviously Manchester United got everyone excited by floating the fact there was going to be a contract announcement that would post on social media. It was either going to be Maguire or Kobbie, and obviously it transpired to be Kobbie, to be Maguire. But I was told, that Kobbie Mainoo shouldn't be too far behind. And again, a player who was frozen out wrongly, in my strong opinion, by the previous manager, has come back in. He's brought balance to the midfield.
We're going to need you to be more journalistic than that. We've got to hold you, just because it's not White and Jordan. Me and Andrew got high standards there. So if you could just mention him by name, please, Crookie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. But he's got himself back in the England team. And, again, a big part of the future for the football club. I'm really fascinated by this midfield search because obviously there's a lot of noise around Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baliba, Adam Wharton, potentially Sandro Tonali. I think Kobbie's form has clouded that search somewhat because what they don't want to do is bring in players who are going to knock his progress back and he finds himself back on the bench again. So really interesting to see what profile of player or players they actually settle on in the summer.
I think it's really interesting with Kobbie. Really wanted to sign this new deal. We came within a whisker of losing him, so that's fantastic. He's top. He is really, really top. But I don't want us to confuse sort of Kobbie must start every game and never leave the pitch. And I'm like, if we want a healthy midfield department to compete on all fronts, mate, that could be Belaber and Wharton starting this one, then Cobby and Wharton start that one, or Tonali and Cobby for these games, and then you do Tonali and Wharton, or what? Do you know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah.
I think Cobby signs, but I don't want us to put him on that pedestal of like he can't leave the pitch. Like if he's on the bench, it's a problem.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and I think regarding Cobby Mainoo, a new deal is 100% the right decision. Would applaud it. He's still very, very young, and I don't want to criticise him too much because I think it's great that he came back into the England setup, but he made mistakes in that game. You know, you're thinking about the tracking back with Matoma, etc. It didn't, you know...
I was defending him there.
Yeah.
I think people are onto him there, man.
Well, I just think there were holes in his game that was quite evident in that, which shows you it's not a bad thing, doesn't mean that he's a terrible player. I don't know if he'll get to the World Cup. It might end up being like maybe a James Garner versus Cobby Mainoo. One of them gets picked. I think it is a little bit late in the game, unfortunately for him. But that showed that there are flaws in his game, but that's okay because he's still a very young player. And I think that between, you know, Cobby, Bruno, Casemiro, like it's worked beautifully under Michael Carrick, and it's a shame that is coming to an end, but it is. And I think I agree with you guys. The type of profile that you're going to bring in, you don't want that to mean... So somebody like Tonali, you feel like they might be in direct competition. So in some ways, you think you don't want Cobby to then be benched all the time. But like you say, there will hopefully be enough games for there to be enough rotation. You look at someone like Elliot Anderson, who I think can be a 6, can be an 8, is that perfect kind of diverse profile for me personally. But it will be interesting to see who they go with. But the main thing is that I don't want... Not saying that I wouldn't want Tonali, but I don't want it to be he's got to start because he's a new sign that we've brought in. We've got to start him and Cobby gets benched. There has to be some kind of rotation.
I think with Casemiro leaving, if you sign Tonali, he starts next to Cobby. If you sign Elliot Anderson, he starts next to Cobby. Then we need another one. So whichever one that looks like is a different ball game. But I believe we're going to sign one A side because our starter is leaving the football club. Casemiro is going, and he is the starter. So. Alongside Cobby in Carrick's eyes. So I do believe that one of the midfielders we get will obviously by proxy have to start. The other midfielder we're going to get is probably going to replace Ugarte, who's on the bench already. So yeah, there might be a swapping of the guard, but I think as long as they're all good enough, we can get to a position where we don't really care who starts. It's for the player who's got the shirt.
Cobby can't play 50 games
can't
a season.
Play 50 games
That's
a season.
it. But
Absolutely not. But we need to sign someone with legs. We need to find someone who can get about, which is why if you do get a Wharton next to Cobby, I'm not too sure about that. In most games, we need someone combative. You need someone who can cover a lot of grass, and then we work in small spaces. So, Cobby Mainoo, listen, we're all in agreement that he needs to get this new contract. Thank God that, Ineos did sort that out, and hopefully we wait for official confirmation on that.